2020. And we're now on to special event applications.
First application for you is from the Certified as Foundation for Beach Cleanup on May 11. Next is Blue Dot Inclusive Earth Day, which is another beach cleanup on May 18th. Bonfires on the beach for 2023. The Cassie Brothers requesting use of council chambers on May 12th. Juneteenth celebration on May 17th, in Spring Park. Yates Walk on May 7th, and Cane at the Beach on June 29th, and Open Heaven Music Fest in Bradley Park on August 26th.
Any questions?
Thank you. We are now on to a presentation by Michelle Alonso, Director of Planning and Redevelopment, of proposed ordinances permitting and governing accessory dwelling units.
Good evening, everyone.
Do you need a mic, Michelle?
Please come together. But in the meantime, I'll borrow. Yes. So good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
This is a presentation of a proposed draft ordinance that the council is considering for accessory dwelling units. All right. Okay, what is an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit? Some people know what these are. If you're a planning geek in the world of planning, or you subscribe to AARP, you may know what they are because they have made some national headlines. Accessory dwelling unit is a smaller, independent residential dwelling unit located on the same lot as a standalone detached single-family home. They go by many different names, and you may know them as an accessory apartment, a secondary suite, or a granny flat. ADUs can be converted portions of existing homes, additions to newer existing homes, or new standalone accessory structures, or convert portions of existing standalone accessory structures, detached ADUs. And we're primarily going to be talking about tonight detached ADUs because that's what the proposed ordinance has in mind. They're sometimes referred to as a soft increase in density because the point of them is not to change the character of a residential neighborhood. The structure is not supposed to be highly visible, and it's a way to add density in a manner that is not supposed to be noticeable. And the photo I have here is what an ADU can look like. This is one that has a garage in it and has living space above it. So internal, attached, and detached ADUs all have the potential to increase housing affordability, both for homeowners and tenants, create a wider range of housing options within a community, and enable seniors to stay near family as they age, and facilitate better use of the existing housing fabric in established neighborhoods. As I said, the AARP has been an advocate of ADUs with the idea of aging in place, that if you're a senior, that you can, if desired, move into a smaller house and have family live in a larger house, or you can rent the larger house, or even that you could remain in the larger house and you have family move in the smaller house. This is what we see very often with ADUs, and that's why they're sometimes called granny flats. Our goal here in Asbury Park is to provide more varied housing types without changing the character of the neighborhood. We recognize that there may not be a lot of smaller units in the city and at desirable price points, and that's one of the reasons that the municipal council asked for a draft of the state of an ADU ordinance and would like to consider it. As I stated before, they can be attached to a main house or detached, such as in a garage overlay on the lot or a new little house at the property. The proposed Asbury Park ADU ordinance would permit ADUs in detached structures, either conversion of existing garages, additions to garages, or new cottages. So this is a slide with photos of examples of ADUs. The one in the far corner is an example of one in New Jersey, where it is the unit above the garage and to the side. The one to the right top is a standalone cottage, as is the one on the left bottom, which also, though, could have been a conversion of a garage. And the one in the right bottom corner is an example of the garage stays and units put above the garage. So this is in line with the master plan. The Asbury Park master plan seeks balanced housing options in the city, including affordable housing for low and moderate income households. We encourage the continued development of a variety of housing ranging from affordable to middle income and market rate units, fully integrating affordable housing throughout the city, both within projects and geographically through Asbury Park. So the ADU ordinance would meet that goal because the idea is now to put more affordable units in what is considered our R1 district, our single family district. And of course, with ADUs, we have regulations. And what's proposed is that the units would be permitted in detached garages, above garages, and standalone structures in backyards. At this time, we're not proposing ADUs in a main structure. Only one unit permitted, one ADU per property, can be built in the location of a detached garage that already exists, or where a detached garage would be at the rear of the property. They cannot be more than 20 feet high, 2 stories, and that goes in line with the principle that we want them to blend in, we do not want them to stand out. They cannot exceed the coverage requirement for the property, both building coverage and paved area coverage. And they must be of the same residential standard as a house. That if someone is going to convert the garage or build an ADU, it has to meet the same code for the habitability as a main structure. Big regulations that it must be owner occupied. Parking must be maintained on site, and 1 parking space per ADU is required. The ADU or the principal house cannot be a short-term rental, and that's, again, to make sure we're in line with what we're trying to achieve with the creation of ADUs. It cannot be subdivided from the principal structure, from the main house. It will have its own approval process, both in the Planning and Zoning Office and in the Office of Code Enforcement, because we will require an annual license to ensure that it's owner occupied and that it's inspected and everything is as it should be. We will have an incentive program if someone desires to create an ADU that is affordable housing and is deed restricted. We will have a financial incentive program that it would be $20,000 for a moderate income unit, 30 for a low income unit, or 35 per very low income unit, and this goes towards the cost of construction. But in order to do this and qualify, it has to be income restricted, it has to follow all the rules for affordable housing. You can't just rent to anyone, it has to be someone on the affordable housing list. It has to be deed restricted for 10 years. There would be annual reporting by the property owner and monitoring. But also as an incentive, we would eliminate the parking requirement for if someone does a deed-restricted affordable unit. You would get a small bump in building coverage of 5%, and it would not have to be owner-occupied. So these regs are to encourage housing for incomes that are below market. So provided that this baby ordinance is acceptable, the next step would be a council resolution to refer to the planning board. This will be a change to our zoning ordinance, so the planning board will review it, make recommendations, and ensure that the new ordinance complies with the goals and objectives of the master plan. Then the final step would be a municipal ordinance to be considered by council, and this is an ordinance that would be 2 readings. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, and Michelle will stay when we get to the public comment portion, in case anybody has specific questions about this. Same as we did for 1012 Asbury, same as we did for 1201 Memorial, we'll do that in the public section. So any questions, Michelle will still be here to answer them. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. We're on to matters from city council. Councilmember Beth Anderson.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I have an announcement from the Recreation Department. We are now hiring summer camp junior counselors. We're hiring beginning July 3rd through August 11th. The hours are 11:30, 5 p.m. Mondays to Thursdays, and 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Fridays. The applicants must be at least 15 years old to work and have working papers. The camps will take place at Thurgood Marshall, Bradley, and Upper Elementary Schools. The rate of pay is $15 an hour, and the application deadline is June 16th. So for more information and to apply, please visit the City of Asbury Park's website, cityofasburypark.com/recreation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Chapman.
Hi, everyone. So Councilwoman Beth Anderson and I will be posting a copy of the council person at the Art of the Leaf and Bean on the 2nd of May at 10 o'clock. So come on out. Let us know what your concerns are. Bring us some ideas. We'd love to hear from all of you. See you there.
Thank you. Councilmember Clayton.
Good evening. Just want to let you know that this Saturday, the Mayor's Wellness Committee is having a stigma-free program in Springwood Park. And if it rains, it's going to happen at Sisters Academy. And it's on sexual assault awareness, and it's from 12 to 3, and all are invited. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Quinn.
I'm just going to thank the Asbury Park Chamber for an amazingly successful restaurant tour. Great job as always. So thank you, Sylvia. Thank you to the Chamber, one of our great partners in Asbury.
Mayor Moore.
Yes, I'll just follow up on what Yvonne said. I was going to make the same announcement. But it's already been decided, it's been switched to Sisters Academy because the forecast is it's going to be raining on Saturday. So it's, again, 12 to 3, it's at Sisters Academy. Be a great program. It's part of the year of trying to make Asbury Park stigma-free in so many different ways, and this one is being sponsored by the city and Mercy Center. So please, if anybody can join us, please join us. Thank you.
Thank you. Matters from the city manager.
I have nothing, Lisa.
Thanks. Matters from the city attorney.
And I have nothing to say.
Thanks, Trevor. We're now in public participation. May I have a motion to open up the meeting to the public? Move to open. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Public participation portion is now open. Any member of the public who wishes to speak, please use the microphone. State your name and address for the record. And then we get a 3-minute time limit for each speaker. Name your name and address. Thank you.
Yep, go ahead.
Hey, Matthew Sigmund, 700 Emory Street. So, 2 topics. So with this, Michelle. So when it comes to owner occupied, if you're an owner of a house, you can only do the ADU. If you're owning an LLC, you can't do an ADU.
Michelle, you should probably come over here, make yourself comfortable with the microphone. Oh, no, yeah, Matt, finish all your questions.
Oh, okay, yes, yeah, after that.
Time, and then it's going to answer everything, and we'll go to the next person.
First of all, that's question one. I think the ADU is a great idea. I hope my interpretation of it is wrong. I hope if you're an investor, you could also do an ADU, because this will help increase the supply of rentals in the area and bring down the costs. So that's, and we can always talk about this outside of council. I think it's a great idea. I think it's great for the city. Second thing is rent control. I haven't been that outspoken about it in a while. I remember toward the election, everyone was like, let's kind of kick it off until after the election. And now we're in pretty much May, and nothing's been done. No changes have been done. I hear whispers of things from people who work for the city. I've heard whispers from individual council people. You know, is it perfect? No, by any means. However, you know, we're at this 3.5% increase, and everyone here, rent or own, everything's gone up more than 3.5%. We live in a coastal area, insurance is soared up. If you provide heat for a building, you know, I own a building where I supply the heat for units. Gas prices have soared up. Everything is soared up, and you know, I mean, no one cares for the landlord, I get it, it is what it is, but it's just a very tough inequality when we're not catching up to these expenses, and my expenses are growing quicker than my rents are growing. It's difficult, and I mean, I don't think we're asking for much. We would just like to be able to grow CPI, just like any other industry. Other expenses, you know, gas prices don't, in my opinion, or ask government whether they could go up or not, insurance, water, sewer, it's real estate taxes, the school budget, you've just seen how high it's gone up. So I just think as a landlord, we're just asking for some consideration, just to go up higher than 3.5%, you know, the CPI. You know, I'd like to hear what council's doing. I know there was a closed session that Mr. Goodman made some changes, and then nothing happened from that. So it's just frustrating, you know? We're not lowering what we provide for tenants. We clean the buildings, we cut the grass. Of course, there's code violations, you know, buildings have issues, but we're doing everything we need to do as landlords. And frankly, we're just, you know, we're getting cut out because we can't increase more than our expenses are. So ADUs are great, Michelle, great idea. I hope we could, you know, mold it and come up with a good plan for everyone. And just looking for a little, I guess, help on the increasing of rents. That's all. Thank you so very much. Looking forward to the council's response to my statements. Thank you.
Michelle, you want
Yes. So the owner occupancy is there because it's an accessory dwelling unit, it's accessory. If you took away the owner occupancy, we have a two-family district. But that's also why we have the affordable housing incentive. If you're an LLC, you would hope that you would put in deed restricted affordable housing if you're going to do multiple ones throughout the city. And again, this is actually, and many municipalities have their ADUs as owner occupied, probably more do than don't. And it is, I believe, the way that we are going to at least start. It's part of the whole idea of the gentle density.
Like it? I don't know.
So are you happy with the answer about the ADUs?
I'm happy with her answer. I'd like to elaborate on the debate, but I mean.
And that's why tonight's to get feedback, so in case we want to change anything, is your questions and concerns of other people's.
Well, if you're an owner occupied, and yeah. Yeah, sure.
As far as the rent control, Mr. Goodman made no changes, so that's not true. You're right, the majority of the council decided to keep it at 3.5%, not go to CPI. And to this day, not one landlord has applied for a hardship because of the price of fuel, the price of this, price of anything, which you can do. So you can tomorrow go in and apply for a hardship, and the rent control committee will listen to the case and vote on it, and I guess for this economy, probably say yes. But nobody has applied for one yet, so that's where we stand. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm George Stevens. I spoke to you before about the firehouse. I hope this back to speak about this, not even so much about it, about getting the local guys jobs. Even if they don't house after union, we have apprenticeship class. just to make sure that if this guy got a contract, that he can hire guys, people from Asbury, not just guys from other states. And I just want to look at it ahead, I don't take up too much time, but just keep our own, be real, thank you.
Okay, and thank you, Mr. Stevens. And just besides the firehouse, just so you know, I don't know if you're aware of it or not, like every project in the city, be it 22 units on 7th Avenue, 210 units on 4th Avenue, they're required to have a job incentive program for Asbury Park residents, where they have to hire so many apprentices, they have to hire so many subcontractors, they have to give scholarships, they have to do that. So if you need more information on that, or anybody,
Yeah.
we'll gladly get that to you.
No, I know about it, but I know this guy, I heard him speak, and, everything wasn't truthful. With this, was
That's right.
just this guy, I'm not, you know.
Okay, but I didn't know if you knew about that.
Yeah,
Otherwise-
thank you, I know about, you know.
And that, you know, because there's going to be a project that's being built, and hopefully one after another,
Yeah, I know the convention halls.
a more long-term, like, job opportunity than one building. So, again, and people can help us spread the word when we have those opening houses, because the first one wasn't that great, where we had 4 scholarships, and we gave all 4 scholarships to one young man, just because nobody else showed up. So, if you help us spread
Well,
the
we
word around.
appreciate what you're doing for the city.
Okay, well, and again, thank you, and I understand your concern. Thank you.
Sylvia, Executive Director for the Chamber of Commerce. First, thank you very much for your kind words and for your support always for the events that we do. This was our 10th annual Asbury Park Restaurant Tour, and it went really, really well. Even though it poured all night long, and I watched the rain begging it to go away. But it was a beautiful day. We attracted about 1,300 guests who sampled cuisine from 26 of our eateries around the entire town. We design our events so that they do a number of things. Certainly show off our town, but our entire town. We bring buses in so that people will go to all of the locations, downtown, boardwalk, north and west side. I had one of my businesses say that she estimated 70% of the people who came in there were new and had never been to her restaurant before, and she was really happy about that. But then I also had a couple that lives on Cookman who did the tour, and they said they went to 4 different restaurants that they didn't even know we had here. So it was really, it supports local and also brings in consumers further away. We had made this last year. We designed it to also be a support system for some nonprofits, and we were able to raise, I don't have the final numbers yet, but there's a few $1,000s that we're going to be able to donate to the pantry at Mercy Center. They're currently serving, I think, 6,000 meals a month to Asbury Park residents, and we'll also be donating a smaller portion to World Central Kitchen, Chefs for Ukraine. And I just wanted to thank you guys, and again, as always, DPW they're so fantastic to us, and the police department and the fire department, whom I always consult with first, to make sure that we're executing our events in the safest and best way for a great outcome for everybody, as well as the residents, that we're not interfering or bothering anybody that doesn't want to be bothered with extra people coming in. But thank you guys for everything. I really do appreciate it.
Again, as Amy thanked you before, we thank you again. And Sunday morning, the weather was miserable until around 11 o'clock when you were setting up, and you brought the sun to us, so thank you very, very much.
Mr. Mayor and council people, my name is Mark Bonzak, and with my fiancee Lisa over here, we've lived on the west side for about a year and a half now at 1012 Monroe Avenue, a couple blocks away, but on the same block of did I say 1012? We're at 1002 Monroe. I was confusing that with 1012 Asbury. And we're big supporters of that project. It's great to see investment on the west side. but we're concerned about parking in the neighborhood, and we hope that you'll be very careful to hold the developer to a good plan to keep the parking from having a couple hundred new residents over parking in the neighborhood. So we'll just be hoping that you'll do a great job with that, and we're thrilled to see investment on the west side. My main comment tonight is about the ADU proposal. We think it's a great idea. My whole career, I've worked with seniors and their families, and the idea of being able to have a couple generations in one place, et cetera, is wonderful. I have a couple technical comments and a question for Michelle. Technical comment, the proposal talks about individual owners and about businesses, corporations, and LLCs, et cetera, but it's silent about trusts. I recommend that you make a technical amendment to say that either a trustee or a beneficiary of the trust must be a resident of the property, must have it as a principal residence. I also think I don't remember the exact place, but there's something number 10 in the proposal that appears to say that if you have a violation, you're kind of permanently banned from ever getting a dwelling permit again. I hope you kind of clean up that language. And finally, my question for Michelle, I don't understand why the proposal bans balconies or other outdoor spaces on the second floor of ADUs, and it would seem like if the ADUs are inward facing into the lot, that it really wouldn't be a problem with the neighbors. So I just wondered what was your thinking with that?
Thank you very much. I will look into the trustee item, and I will find the part about the violation, because part of the idea is if you have an open violation on the property. But again, about the balconies, the idea is because a lot of these are going to be very close to the neighboring property lines. Right now, the garage is permitted to be 3 feet from the rear, 5 from the side, so that if there was a balcony attached, it would intrude on your neighbor's privacy.
But if the balcony faces away from the neighbors and into the yard, it would seem like that could be a decent design that would come into that. So I hate to see just a complete ban on them.
Oh, but you would still, rear 30 feet away. The only way it would work if it was on the corner of the property. But we had discussions about that, and one of the things that it doesn't permit you not to have outdoor recreation space, just that would have to happen on the ground, like a patio. But there was a concern when we were drafting this of the privacy for the neighbors. Because also if you have a second floor balcony, then you can look down onto your neighbor's property if so desired. Not saying that everyone will do that. But your comment is going to be taken into consideration by the municipal council.
Yeah, just to reiterate what Michelle's saying, so this is draft form, right? So this is in one of our many efforts to try to keep Asbury in some way affordable, right? So we sort of, greatly reduce short-term rentals. We implemented rent control. We implemented a 20% set aside for affordable housing. We're going to implement ADUs. We're one of the few municipalities in the entire state that's even considering it, right? A lot of them don't have ADUs. So this is for us, so, I don't love the LLC idea, but this is for us to take, these ideas, go back to the drawing board, and then come up with a resolution. Again, the spirit being to provide a little bit more affordability in Asbury Park.
It's a great
Is that a
thing,
fair
and
statement?
I support it completely. I just was suggesting a couple.
No, appreciate the comments. So we welcome the comments, and that's why we're asking for this input prior to voting on it, to weed out the ideas that we like and the ideas we don't like, and then put together a final draft.
Thank you.
And any follow-up by anybody, please, you can email Michelle, you can email any council member and say, hey, how about this, how about that? Because again, like Amy said, this is like, we're cooking the cake, so the first time the cake is right. So any follow-up questions, concerns, please get to us. I don't think we're going to be voting on this at the next meeting. It'll be too quick, so we want public input so we do this right the first time.
By the way, my comment about the trust isn't to get around anything, it's just to recognize that some people have living trusts that own properties, and the current language didn't
And you're concerned about Monroe and the Asbury project, totally agree with you, and we're having those discussions before this project moves forward.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
As someone was saying, I should have put my email up on the screen, but you can find my email on the city website.
Oh, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Peter Boulos. I live at 1705 Fourth Avenue. Great presentation, Michelle. I think it would be a great thing for Asbury Park. My comments in general are, I do feel that the owner-occupied piece should be removed. I feel it would limit the amount of residents and owners who would actually move forward and either convert the space or build the space. I also think that the incentive being offered for affordable housing, deed restricted, is a nice incentive, but I do think it should be noted that it could potentially have a negative impact on property values in the town. And I know the town has come a long way over the years, and I just want that to be noted. Otherwise, I think it's a absolutely great plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is David Wilson. I'm the president of Overhead Music Fest, the event for August 26th. I simply just wanted to introduce myself to the community. I currently live in Toms River, but I have staff members and co-laborers that live here in Asbury Park. I am a Jersey boy. I actually was born in Cuba, came over to America. And the impetus, really, I want to just really drive home the why behind why I even started doing this, is that I work for the Navy, been all over the world, met many cultures, 27 countries, and coming home and seeing the division within churches, division within communities, I thought music would be that one thing that would bring people together. And so I wanted to do it in a family-friendly environment, and bring people together. So we started that in 2018. We've been growing since then, and I'm very excited about bringing that to Asbury Park. I'm very thankful for the success that we've had over the last several years. Last year we were in Springwood Park. I'm very thankful for Councilmember Clayton. I was there to greet and open us up there, and I'm hoping that someone from the staff will be able to actually come out on the 26th as well. But it's an invite for the whole entire community for us to come together. We'll have children's activities, we'll have great live bands, we'll have food trucks and all that stuff. The benefits, it's free entry. We give away, we do free giveaways through our partners. We bring giveaways last year we gave out bicycles and things like that. We give out back to school supplies. We have a collaboration with an organization called Meet the Need, and we get school supplies to them. And then some of our events, dozen events, we have free food, but not this one, because we have food trucks there. But the whole idea is to inspire and to provide hope for the community. And so I'm very thankful to be a part of this community. On any given weekend, you'll find me in Asbury Park. I love this city. I go to Toast, I go to the surrounding restaurants. I have a thing that I do called Dining with David, and I'm often in the restaurants here blogging the restaurants in this area. So very glad to be in the community, to be part of it, and continue. I hope that we can have a continued long relationship and working together in co-laboring. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And
Open Heaven Music Fest is on August 26th, Saturday.
and your event is very well received in the Special Events Committee, and I'm sure it's going to pass tonight, and I wish you the best. If there's anything we can do to help to make it a greater day, let us know. But again, thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kathy McCullen. I reside at 705 First Avenue here in the city. And when I bought that house in 1988, the zoning was R2, and it is a two-family. Now it is a non-conforming two-family. However, I'm kind of using it as a mother-daughter with client daughter. I'm asking regarding the ADUs that perhaps reconsider the internal ADU, because that's really how I'm using my two-family house. However, because the zoning was changed in 2017, in order to make some of the changes to the house to make it more livable for myself, I would have to seek a variance because the zoning changed after I bought the house, and now that I have a little more means to make the changes to the house, I'm restricted by having to do a variance, just kind of simple things to make it more livable. And we could do an ADU, but we already have the separate in the two-family, and it is a much smaller subunit. So if you consider doing an internal ADU, and my house would qualify for that, then I could actually give up my two-family zoning, maintain my second unit as an ADU, and then proceed to do some of the modifications, which are internal to the structure actually, that I would like to make to the house without having to go towards a variance. And also my question is on the incentives for lower income housing. What, I think there should be clarity on what the affordable housing list is that the housing authority, city housing, so what that list means, because I know a lot of people that could qualify, but I don't know what list they would be on, who might be interested in renting if I ever got to that point. And then if there are any deviations from the ADU plan, would that be something that could be accommodated through the variance process? So if somebody wanted to do a balcony but otherwise didn't qualify on the kind of the general ADU pattern. But I do want to definitely commend this. I love the idea of an ADU, and I just hope you'll consider the internal as you get out the get-go, because that could solve a lot of the problems. Thank you.
So, one of the things that we had put in that a non-conforming use could not have an ADU. But I have to say that I believe we're open to doing a non-conforming two-family being able to have an ADU.
It is in here.
But and I say the but, part of it again is about the general density. Once you start to go higher and you need to comply with the parking, then we come into issues of not being able to comply with the current zoning and why we put those measures in. Like many years ago, we didn't have an impervious coverage requirement. Now with our new stormwater regs and just general good practices, we have an impervious coverage requirement. And if you need to park a lot of cars on your property, you may run afoul of that. But we also, at this point, decided to just do ADUs in the separate structures because much of the housing that we have in Asbury Park, the guidance with what is an ADU, it doesn't necessarily lend itself to the carving out of space in people's existing homes. You may be the exception, and I also would like if, for you also to come to my office or we can do a call about what you have now and what it means for your property for an expansion. And then the other part about doing the ADU within the house, one of the things we would definitely do that may not benefit everyone is it would be limited in size. The idea is it's supposed to, again, be gentle density and not have a big impact on the neighborhood, because if we permitted the ADUs internally, it's just a two-family district now, and it's not a one-family district. So it's also, again, up to the municipal council. This is the route we were going to. We're looking for the general density and to show what's flow. I hope I answered your question. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening, Eric Alco. Good evening, council members, good evening, Michelle. First of all, thank you for bringing this forward. I think this is a really important initiative for the town, and I'm so glad to hear so many people speaking in support of it. There are a few items I would like to sort of reiterate about design of these buildings. Should be able to accept a more contemporary expression that allows things like flat roofs and external balconies and staircases to save on internal space that actually has to be built. And so I echo this gentleman's conversation about that. And I also think that there should be some way of thinking about how there might be incentives for existing green building standards, like flat roofs, which do not conform to what these pictures shown up here are all peaked roofs. Flat roofs maximize the area for solar, and they also may allow for low slopes that support green roofs. More contemporary materials are prefabricated and cheaper and would lower the cost of developing the ADU for the owner. So those are a couple of things. The affordability grant, I would love to downsize from my 4-bedroom house to a 2-bedroom house. And so if the deed restriction was replaced on any unit on the site, that would allow the flexibility for the owner to move into the new unit and do the existing unit as an affordable unit, potentially providing a greater number of bedrooms in general, which is also something that we look for in our affordable housing profile. Then there's the issue of exceptions to the rules. Currently, there is no administrative pathway in the ordinance to support people who have special exceptions to get that special permit without going to the zoning board for a variance, which can be an expensive and extremely lengthy and very litigious process. My house is a legal 2-family house in the business zone. The property next to me is 1201 Memorial, subject to a recent redevelopment area plan allowing 120 units. It's fabulous, I love it, thank you so much. I'm also in support of the ADUs, which would be allowed on every property around me except mine. And therefore, I feel that especially for 1 and 2 families in the business zone, you should consider allowing the creation of an ADU if it creates a 3rd unit or a 4th. Or a 5th. Yeah, and so as long as you're able to meet the parking and coverage requirements, existing 1 and 2 family homes in the business zone should be able to create ADUs that exceed the 2-unit maximum for the site. Thank you. Those are, I think, most of my comments. Yeah, administrative pathway. I don't want to get there.
Right, so let's start with the flat roof. My guess, may they just all have peak roofs, because most of those were more East Coast related. This is, law, ADUs are law in Oregon, and a lot of those examples were flat roofs, but didn't look like our housing. So of course we're open to flat roofs. And what you're talking about with the deed restriction on the housing, if someone had a 2-family home, I think this is a whole separate discussion of using affordable housing funds to create affordable housing in 2-family homes. I think that's separate from ADUs. But
My suggestion was not that. Look, if a person in a single-family home creates an ADU in the back, they should have the option to move into the ADU and make their existing unit the affordable unit. It could potentially be a larger unit with more bedrooms, which is a portion of the housing profile we also need to provide for families with needs in affordable housing. It's not that we want to create more units, it's the same number of units, just that the owner would be able to occupy either unit.
that's something for us to think about.
That would deal with the square footage, right? Because we're saying ADUs have to be a certain square footage.
Right.
So if you switch it, then, okay, it's just something to think about. Right?
Yes, because everything.
It's just a special exception.
One of the, and then coming to the part about variances and not variances. I mean, legally, the pathway to an exception in the zoning ordinance is a variance.
Mhm.
So that would be, and the way this is written, that would be the case, that you have an
Then my suggestion would be to include 1 and 2 families in the business zone with a special permit.
Okay.
Oh, we're gonna, it's something that.
I don't know what this special permit is.
It's an administrative pathway.
Yes.
Yes, you go to the zoning office,
Well,
they
that's the
check.
list is,
Yes.
yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you so much, Council. This is great.
Hi, good evening. Kitty Minervini, 1012 Fifth Avenue. I am definitely for, thank you Amy for telling me about this meeting at the last one. I'm for ADUs. I do not agree with my neighbor about not being owner occupied. I am for owner occupation of the unit of the property, only because I think it's respectful to the people who live around it. I live next door to a multifamily home, and with absentee landlords, it's just not taken care of like everyone else's property in the surrounding area. So I just want to say, I'm for this. I agree with a lot of Eric's comments about design. Youth Design Sustainable Materials and kind of opening that up a little bit more. So those are my two comments. My question is, if you can remind me what lot coverage is for properties. I mean, I hope we can do it, I'm not sure we can, but I'm just curious. I knew there was a number, I heard it was changing, I'm not sure what that is. And my second question is why, out of curiosity, I'm just curious why parking is not required for affordable housing. Even the developer of 1201, when we had a conversation after the last meeting, he even said that that was unlike many other municipalities. And so we're just assuming that people in affordable housing don't have cars, but they probably most likely have at least one, maybe 2 or 3. So as parking does, as we do more development, whether it's ADUs or developer developments that are larger, we are going to have issues with parking. So I'm just curious why that is. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, so coverage requirements. Building coverage is 30% of the lot, impervious is 60%. And to the idea of,
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
30%, this is R1 district. This is, it's 30% building coverage and 60% impervious coverage.
Okay, thank you.
Then I just blanked out your second question.
It's the affordable.
Affordable housing, yeah, I'm just curious.
A lot of it is incentives. So I'm sure it's no surprise, developers don't want to build units that they can't get the maximum amount of money on. So these are sort of incentives to allow, and if people have other idea for other incentives, we're always up for incentives. It's very difficult to get affordable housing, particularly in Asbury Park, but these are incentives to get you to do it, really. It's us saying, we need this, and here's the break we're going to give you to do it.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Carrie Williamson, in the West Fourth Avenue. Maybe it's my neighbor. So 703 Grove.
That's pretty good. Dave, now your name and address, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Carrie Williams, and I'm at 703.
Thank you.
Fifth Avenue. And Kathy, my neighbor, at 705, and which is my partner. So it's a non-conforming, much like Kathy's, but 3 units. We live on the first floor and the other 2 units. So I think my question was also about, you answered this in part, but about multifamily building being, not being able to build ADUs. To me, it seems like this kind of incentivizes people in our situation to turn our family, our 3-family into a single-family house in order to build an ADU, which would result in 2 units instead of 3 units that we currently have. So I think that maybe backfire in some situations. And I'm wondering if there is the potential for us to, if we want to build an ADU, to get a variance around the prohibition against multifamily.
So because this is in the zoning ordinance, you can definitely get a variance or seek a variance for any portion in the zoning ordinance. I did, you emailed me and I did look at it. Again, it has to, multifamilies, in order to accommodate the parking that's required for each unit, may go over the impervious coverage requirement. Not everyone, if you have an exceptionally large lot, but that's the exception. So that's why we originally were limiting it to one family, but after a little bit more analysis and looking at some of the area maps, I am open to discussing with council about 2 families. So again, if we were trying to go slow and go gentle, because there's also, as you know, there's quite a few multifamily properties in the city that are not owner occupied. It's kind of the exception and for multifamily to be owner occupied.
Thank you.
Good evening, Pam Lamberton, Sunset Avenue. We all know back in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, many of our big old beautiful Victorian homes were subdivided into many, many little apartments, or porches or turned into apartments. basements were turned into apartments. So in the early 2000s, I haven't had the privilege of sitting on the zoning board, and we were encouraged to discourage any additional living spaces being added to homes and properties. That there's a lot, and somebody wanted to add something else. In the early 2000s, that was, we were pendulum was swinging the other way. And then I personally, having sat on that zoning board, have had a 180-degree change of heart. I see the value of the ADUs. I support this entirely. Enough said, it's great. I'm trying to understand how far along in the process the ordinances are. There's a couple of things that I would suggest that you look at, maybe technical issues. There are two ordinances that we're talking about, and they both have their own definition of ADUs. And one glaring difference that I noticed is that one of the ordinances refers to attached or detached, and the other ordinance says only detached. So I don't know why you need two definitions, and they're different. So I would suggest combining them. I also wonder about sewer connections, because a lot of these new ADUs will require kitchen and bath facilities, so we're going to have sewer connections. We just need to remember that the sewer plant has a capacity that we have to keep in mind. But I wholeheartedly support the idea of ADUs, and congratulations to Asbury Park for being on the forefront. I also have a question in 44 seconds about the Historic District Committee that was formed. Who created it? I'm going to talk fast. Who was appointed to it? Do they have credentials? What is the mission of that committee? When is the delivery date? And what is the delivery? And is there a deadline for that delivery from that committee?
Amen.
Anybody want to answer that question? Because I don't know the answer. Mrs. Stewart? Right, so,
I don't know who started.
so who's on it now?
And me.
And? That's it? I think Ms. Pam's asking, like,
Is it an official committee?
So, yeah, maybe the answer, Pam, is there's just a working group of council members and community members that have been meeting to discuss the historic district ordinance that Michelle has been drafting for quite a while. I believe the committee is finalizing their comments, which the entire council will discuss in executive, and then we'll probably have a similar meeting like we're having tonight regarding the historic ordinance. Yes?
Reed Moran on 8th Avenue. I've been in my house 50 years, and I've seen a lot of changes. Across the street from me was a one-family mansion. And when you reduce the rules, this is what happens. It's now a 10-family in the R1 zone. So who's going to control all this stuff? You can't even control it. It's out of your hands. People convert basements, attics into apartments that you don't even know about. And if you started to research that, you would be very, very surprised at what's going on in Asbury Park. And now, I have a garage, I could build over it, but would I want people looking at me in my house? I don't think so. Maybe I'm too old-fashioned for that. I don't think it's, I think it's okay if it's in a certain area, but not in the R1 zone. What does that do to the R1 zone? You're making exceptions to every rule. How about doing historical first? Because we are in a historical zone. And I think that you should be looking at that. You can't even even get bushes cut down next door to me. You have a volunteer organization working on it. How do they have the right to cut down bushes? How about correcting those things first, before you look at it at Art Magazine? I didn't think you were that old to be looking at Art Magazine. But that's also a very political magazine, and they would like to break up one-family neighborhoods. You know that. They tried it in Westchester, New York, and it didn't work. So, I mean, I'm not against it, but you gotta be extremely careful. And you don't have the people working here that could handle all this, including the city manager. Where is the Historical Society? 2 people? How about the people that live in the historical district? How about asking them? No, we have to come out and tell you. It's not fair. It's just not fair. You don't get anything done. And this is going to be the topping on the cake. Affordable? Where is there affordable housing anywhere? Nowhere. That's just a word that people use. Rents are $2,000, and you know that, for a 1-bedroom. So what do you expect? You expect people to believe all this?
Okay, read it, your time's up.
Oh, no. You know what? You gave the guy last week, 2 weeks ago, 8 minutes. I just want you to know. 1606 Sewell Avenue, talking about surfing. Remember? I just
Okay,
want you to know.
Read it, if you want it, give me one more sentence, go ahead.
No. I just want you to
Okay, and I appreciate it, and I'm going to ask, and I'm doing this sincerely.
What?
I'm doing this sincerely. So I'm asking the city manager and zoning and planning. I'm getting tired of hearing about reading the bushes. I've been hearing about it for like 5 years. And like, you know, why can't we solve bushes that may be legal, may be illegal, and why is it going to the ESTC instead of planning and zoning? So can we get an update on that? Since Rita, the owner, can't get an update.
So Mayor, I believe that the zoning officer has already ruled on this, but I will follow up with Michelle tomorrow and reiterate what the zoning already told Rita.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mary McAllister, 1130 Darlene Avenue, Wanamassa, formerly of 409 Second in Asbury. And I'm so sorry I didn't get in line before Rita went, because she really needs to close out the meeting, but as we all know. As a real estate agent in town and surrounding areas, mostly in town for the last 19, 20 years, I applaud you for looking at this. I represent buyers and sellers, tenants and landlords, so I see all sides. I've seen many cycles, and this cycle happens to be very difficult for tenants and buyers, right, as we all know. I think that you're trying to get a balance, which I applaud. I also, as Pam had said, I've seen when all the big houses were carved into multifamilies, and then everybody wanted to bring them back out of that. I get that. Again, a cycle. So again, I'm glad that you're doing this. I do appreciate that you're looking to conform to the existing coverage requirements. I think that will keep a lot of people happy and on the side of having this. I think that that should not change. As far as balconies, I'll take my realtor hat off for a second and put on a homeowner hat. I agree with no balconies. No matter if it's in the front or the sides, I do feel it's intrusive. Personally, I feel a deck is intrusive as opposed to a patio, right? You can then see your neighbors. We all want a little piece of our privacy. One thing I was thinking about is having the moderate, low, and very low income incentives. I think that's fantastic to put an incentive out there. I do think it should be for both homeowners and non-homeowners. I don't think that we should necessarily villainize LLCs or investors because they are producing housing. We are a capitalist society at the end of the day. I do understand we need to strike a balance, which is what this is about and many of our other laws are about. I do just think that perhaps giving that to both sides would be a good idea, or something to at least think about. Let's see. I was just curious, and it seems that there's not a lot of opposition. If opposition did come up, I wonder, was there a search or anything conducted that would show how many potential properties could even conform to this? Probably not a lot, probably not as many as people may think if you have to conform to the existing zoning rules. So just a thought, I mean, not necessary now because it doesn't feel like there's a lot of opposition for it, but I think that the number of people who are doing this is a lot less than, as far as CPI. No, but that's great. CPI for rent, I think that might be something you might want to look at just.
Okay, thank you. We talked about it.
Okay, darn, I should have got to that a little sooner.
Thank
Hi, Rita.
The incentive for making, there is, the incentive for a deed restricted affordable unit is for an also known as six, but that is part of the incentive that doesn't have to be owner occupied.
Thank you.
Rick Dilly, Bangs Avenue. I grew up in suburban America in North Jersey. We recently moved to Asbury Park. I applaud Asbury Park in trying to introduce this legislation for the ADUs. One of the areas that was not really touched on, was just mentioned by one person, is multi-generational families. And I think it's so important. We grew up on the same street, and my children were raised on the street where their grandparents were. They always had another house to go to, another door to knock on, and another person to talk to. So I think there's great value in this, although I am in favor of your thrust in towards affordable housing. There's a separate category, this intergenerational housing. And again, the property we live in is a non-conforming R1, and I'm hoping you look at your proposed legislation and allow them that to be able to have an ADU. We'd like to move into the ADU, and one of our sons lives in the main house. So this would be something that I think has value and unnecessarily restricted in the proposal right now. I don't know what you mean by that.
I think I'm confused by your question, because if you have, if you don't meet the minimum lot size, and you can still do an ADU. If you have a garage on your property and you have other non-conformities you're not touching, you can do an ADU in that garage structure.
That's not our case. This would be a new structure, a new ADU, and it would be something that we would want to build on the property of my son's house. Sits on.
Well, I was going to say, you can, again, if you have.
I think he's looking for the incentives that we're providing for affordable for family, for intergenerational. If I'm understanding your
That would
question.
be wonderful, but that's actually not my choice.
Oh, that is-
That would be great. Anytime you want to get money, that's good.
Well, in the whole thing, I think you may be a case, again, for variance, if you feel, because it sounds like maybe if you do that, you're going to exceed lot coverage,
No, I think what you're saying.
Right
is-
now, we have like
Why didn't you tell us
six,
this?
No, I think what you're saying is you would like to live in the ADU and occupy the ADU and have your son occupy the main house.
That's permitted.
That's permitted. That's all I want to make clear.
The main structure is two legal apartments.
It's the same problem.
There's the problem.
Exists everywhere.
It's not conforming our law.
So we can't have the ADU.
That's something we can
That's
discuss.
something we said, well, you see, we look at, like, he needed a special case. So, like,
We can talk about that.
talk about
I'll talk to you all.
Anything else like you heard? Motion closed.
All in favor?
Public participation portion is now closed.
Thank you for all your input, and there will be no vote on this next meeting until we get more feedback. This was a good start, so again, thank you all, please. Michelle Malvado, citybasketballpark.com. Everybody, first name, last name, and citybasketballpark.com. So please follow up with some questions, suggestions, input, because we want to get this close to where the majority like it and don't dislike it. Again, thank you all.
We're now on to the minutes. I have the executive meeting minutes and the regular meeting minutes of the April 12th meeting. Councilmember Bez Anderson. Yes. Councilmember Chapman. Yes. Councilmember Clayton. Yes. Deputy Mayor Quinn. Yes. Mayor Moore. We're now on the consent agenda resolution. All matters listed on the consent agenda are presented to the elected city council and will be considered for approval with one vote. These matters are considered to be routine in nature, and there will be no individual discussion of these items. Discussion is desired by one or more council members as to any particular item. Instead, items shall be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. On consent agenda, we have resolutions 2023-198 through 2023-205. Do I have a motion? Move that. Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton. Yes. Deputy Mayor Quinn. Yes. Mayor Moore.
Yes.
We're now on to individual resolutions. Resolution 2023-206, resolution approving payment of bills.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-207, a resolution authorizing the emergency repairs and maintenance as needed at the wastewater treatment plant.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-208, a resolution authorizing emergency purchase of 2 primary sludge pump impellers needed at the wastewater treatment plant. Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton. Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-209, a resolution authorizing the purchase of outdoor bottle filling stations.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson. Councilmember Chapman. Councilmember Clayton. Deputy Mayor Quinn. Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-210, a resolution authorizing purchase of new parking enforcement vehicle and related equipment needed. Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn has left the room. Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-211 has been removed from tonight's agenda, so we're now on to Resolution 2023-212, resolution awarding contracts to commercial recreation specialists for the purchase of equipment for the water spray park with community development block grant CDBG funding. Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-213, a resolution awarding a contract for Sunset Lake Pond Management.
Move it.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-214, a resolution authorizing a professional services contract with NJ American Water for a water main disconnect.
Move it.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-215, a resolution authorizing an agreement with Control Pro for 2023 fertilizer and weed control program at various locations citywide.
Move it.
Second.
Question. Don, you and I discussed this the other day. I'm for this, but I'm still wondering why we're only doing half the parks. I mean,
So I spoke with Robert, and the parks that are identified here are the ones that we've been doing in the past, and other parks haven't needed it. If the parks do need it, we'll do it as well. And the other ones that are adjacent to water bodies, Black Lagoon's handling, that was a previous resolution you just approved.
Lucas Park doesn't need it. I mean, St. John's Island doesn't need it.
So
Black Lagoon handles St. John's Island. So if there is an issue at Locust Park, we can certainly identify that. But these are the parks that they've done historically. This is what they've done for the past 10 years, Robert said.
I don't think that's a big deal. I just think if we're gonna do the parks, we should do all the parks, not just 50% of the parks, or 50% of the.
Well, it's a little bit more than 50%, but like I said.
But
it's-
70% of it, 30% of it. I just wish it was consistent throughout the city. Thank you.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
No.
Resolution 2023-216, a resolution awarding contract to MRC Recreation for the purchase and installation of equipment for the exercise fitness area with Community Development Block Grant CDBG funding.
Move it.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-217, a resolution authorizing the extension of the transportation of liquid sewage sludge from BP wastewater treatment plant to PDSC.
Move it.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-218, a resolution authorizing the city of Asbury Park to implement a competitive contracting process to procure vendors to operate a penthouse concession.
Move it.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-219, a resolution approving change order number 2 for Memorial Drive Improvements Project.
Move it. Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-220, a resolution authorizing the mayor and municipal clerk to execute a fiscal year 2023 to 2026 agreement with Monmouth County for cooperative participation in the Home Investment Partnership Program pursuant to the Interlocal Services Act.
Move it.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-221, a resolution adopting Monmouth County Home Consortium fiscal year 2023 annual action plan for housing and community development block grant CDBG program. Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-222, resolution appointing muralists to paint murals on the city of Asbury Park wastewater treatment plant for 2023.
Move it.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-223, resolution authorizing appointments to the Housing Authority. The first appointment would be Angeline Brown. Do I have a motion? Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I would like to, can I vote on that?
You have a exception first.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So Councilmember Bez Anderson.
No.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor
Well,
Quinn. Two votes. One for
Yay. Oh, okay.
I have a vote, and then I'm going to do Charlotte and yeah.
This is the 70s.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Yes. Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Second appointments would be Charlotte McAllister and Nina Summerlin. Do I have a motion?
Anybody want to separate it?
No.
Go ahead.
Do I have a second?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
And all three would be terms to expire April 30th, 2028. We're now on to ordinances, second readings, public hearing. First up is ordinance 2023-12, the 2022 transportation update ordinance. John, do you have something to provide any summary?
Yeah, I'm sorry, this is which one, on the parking?
Yeah, 2022
We
transportation.
have James Banner here, Director of Transportation.
Director of Transportation, James Banana, provide us with a brief summary.
This ordinance is a collection of recommendations from the parking committee. There are recommendations to add some street cleaning along avenues, such as Public Avenue, Greenwood Avenue, Sunset Drive, Bond Street. There are recommendations to restrict trailers from parking on the street overnight. There's a new recommendation for a commercial vehicle permit to limit commercial vehicles to one per home and have a small fees to have it on the street. There's also a residential driveway clearance program that will run by the city that will help manage people's requests to have paint on the driveway as far as the parking goes for the paint. And there's the inclusion of additional metered parking along Peck Street, 2nd Avenue, 6th Avenue, 7th Avenue, 8th Avenue, close to the waterfront.
Thank you, James. May I have a motion to open up the public hearing on 2023-12?
Move it.
Second. Public hearing on ordinance 2023-12 is now open. Any members of the public would like to be heard, please use the microphone. Your comments may be regarding 2023-12 only.
Okay, Heck Street. And what's going to happen there again?
Peck Street between Sewell Avenue and 5th Avenue will be metered parking.
What about the 8th Avenue?
8th Avenue from Ocean Avenue to Park Avenue
Is what?
will be metered parking.
Meter parking?
Yes.
Whose idea was this?
These are recommendations for the parking.
Oh.
Thank you.
Patricia Patton, Asbury Avenue. I'm not sure if it's applicable to this or not, but my question has to do with parking on front lawns on Asbury Avenue and not actually parking spaces that turn their lawns into parking areas. Is that a part of what?
I don't think we can discuss that right now because I can't expect to look at this ordinance, I'm correct?
Yeah, so if you'd like to reach out to the zoning department, to Michelle Alonso, she can advise you on the parking on the lawns. And that was Michelle who gave the presentation earlier on the ADUs.
I wasn't here.
Oh, okay. So if you look at our zoning office.
Okay, motion to close.
Sorry.
Move to close. All in favor? Public hearing on ordinance 2023-12 is now closed. Motion to adopt 2023-12.
Move.
Second. Councilmember Bez Anderson. Councilmember Chapman. Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore. Yes. Hold on a second, please. Just because you weren't here at the beginning, and it's a quick answer to your question, but then you can follow up. If somebody parks on the front grass and it's on their property, it's zoning board matter.
No, it says.
If somebody parks on the front grass and they're in the city right away, it's a police matter. It's both are wrong. The police handle right away, zoning handles on the property itself. If I'm wrong, I can be corrected. I believe I'm right, but we talk about this. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a short answer, so why make you wait 2 weeks?
Thank you. We're now on to ordinance 2023-14, ordinance of the City of Asbury Park, amending, supplementing subsection 4-27.4, entitled application of section 4-27 film and photography permits of chapter 4, general licensing of the code of the City of Asbury Park. And for the record, the adoption notice of this ordinance was published in error in the Coaster on April 20th, 2023. Public hearing on ordinance 2023-14 will take place tonight. We have a motion to open the meetings of public hearing on ordinance 2023.
Move it. Second. You want me to, yeah, sure. So this is an ordinance that's been in effect for a while. The only change in this ordinance is adding number 7, which will require anyone doing filming or photography to notify businesses and residents within 200 feet of the location.
3 days prior to the.
Thank you, Mayor. 3 days prior.
Anybody like to be heard on this? Motion to close.
Move it. All in favor? Aye. Public hearing on 2023-14 is now closed. Motion to adopt 2023-14.
Move it.
Second.
Councilmember Bez Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-16, ordinance designating a portion of Emory Street as a one-way street within the city of Asbury Park.
Move it. Second.
Yeah, I think it speaks for itself. I don't think we need James up here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, opening public hearing, you have, moving.
Second, move it. Somebody's got a second.
Second. Thank you.
Fast tonight.
We're public hearing on ordinance 2023-16 is now open.
Move to close.
Second. Thank you. All in favor?
Wait till it's moved and seconded, and then ask your questions.
Move the second, all in favor to close public hearing. We'll see the question first.
Well, that.
You got it, yes, it's got to be on the floor for her to ask a question.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2023-16.
Move it. Second. There you go, long question.
Okay, the first, second, third, fourth, fifth whereas, that says Emory Street, Emory.
I'm sorry.
You got it correctly.
Okay. Withdraw my question.
Yeah, there was a typo in it, but it's, you should have gotten a corrected one.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for reading it.
Motion to, go ahead and start the roll call.
Councilmember Benson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman?
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn? Yes. Mayor Moore?
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-17, ordinance of the city of Asbury Park approving and adopting redevelopment plans for property located at 1012 Asbury Avenue, Block 501, lots 1 and 2.
That will just briefly summarize, very briefly.
Hi folks, Beth Plans, planning consultant for the city. This redevelopment plan is for, as the title is 1012 Asbury Avenue, specifically block 501, lots 1 and 2. It's the frontage of Asbury Avenue between Comstock and Lansford. And the redevelopment plan provides for multifamily housing on upper stories, a maximum of 115 units, first floor commercial, and then also first floor structured parking at the rear of the property. The parking provides, or the plan rather, requires one space per unit. And one of the good things about this redevelopment plan is that it requires a really substantial set aside for affordable housing, in that it's not less than 40% of the units on the property need to be reserved for low and moderate income households. And that restriction for affordable housing must meet all of the applicable affordable housing rules so that the city will not only be able to provide housing for households that meet those income requirements, but you actually get affordable housing credit for those units.
Thanks,
Thank
Ben.
Motion to open the public hearing on 2023-17. Move it. All in favor? Aye.
Would anybody like to be heard, or talk, or ask a question?
Move to close.
All in favor? Aye. Public hearing on 2023-17 is now closed. Motion to adopt 2023-17. Councilmember Bez Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman?
Yes.
Councilmember Clayton?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn?
Yes.
Mayor Moore?
Yes.
Now to ordinance 2023-18, ordinance of the city of Asbury Park amending and supplementing chapter 8 entitled Taxi Cab, Deliveries, Pedicab, and Valet Parking to repeal Article 2 Pedicabs of the Code of the City of Asbury Park.
Move it.
Second.
This ordinance will repeal the ability for pedicabs to operate in the city of Asbury Park.
Thank you. Anybody, motion to open to the public? I move it.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Anyone like to be heard?
Anybody like to be heard?
Move to close.
All in favor? Aye. Public hearing on 2023-18 is now closed. Motion to adopt 2023-18. Move it. Councilmember Bez Anderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman? Councilmember Clayton?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn? Mayor Moore?
Yes.
No one has anything else? We can move on to adjourn. Motion?
Move to adjourn.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Our meeting now